Well, the 49ers are NFC West champions. They secured it right here at State Farm Stadium, 45-29 against the Cardinals. But I think it's already time to essentially turn the page to next week because, the question had been, will the 49ers overlook the Cardinals because they have a gargantuan game following this one in Arizona? I don't think they overlooked the Cardinals. I think they played a very good game, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But 49ers, Ravens is set to be the showdown of the season. Baltimore just won 23-7 in Jacksonville. So that's good for a blowout by NFL standards. A few weeks ago, at the start of their current 6-game winning streak, the 49ers also blew out Jacksonville on the road 34-3. So by a bigger margin than their next opponent. But the Ravens, they're 11-3. The 49ers are 11-3. Both of these teams on track to be the 1 seed of their respected conferences. But this is a huge game for both of these teams in that bid. You have Brock Purdy, who's now the leading candidate in the betting markets by a lot to be the MVP of the NFL against a former MVP in Lamar Jackson. It's going to be theater. The NFL is great at producing theater. This is going to be very, very compelling on Christmas Day. Monday Night Football, primetime, 49ers and the Ravens. But the 49ers are NFC West champs. We're going to talk about a lot of that to begin this show. We're going to break down 49ers and the Cardinals, 45-29. I've got the game book right here, but I heard that there's some mistakes in the game book. The 49ers might have statistically broken some of the logging mechanisms here. I'm only kidding, but the 49ers offense, and my article on Athletics is going to be coming up pretty soon here. As soon as it's out, I'm going to share it with you so you can check it out. The 49ers offense, though, historically comparable only to probably the greatest show on turf, Rams. And this is a 49ers offense that is on track to have at least 2 1,000-yard receivers and probably 3 if Deebo Samuel can get there, and his pace is pretty damn close. A 1,500-yard rusher in Christian McCaffrey, who's leading the league by a country mile in rushing yards. He's over 1,200 yards. Nobody else in the NFL has even reached 1,000. They're going to have a 4,000-yard quarterback in Brock Purdy, who briefly exited the game today with the shoulder stinger, but obviously came back in and promptly finished a touchdown drive for the 49ers at a big moment. That combination has never been seen before. If they have 3 1,000-yard receivers at the end of this, they're only on pace technically to have 2 in Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, but Deebo Samuel, who obviously has missed a couple games, he might also crack the 1,000-yard mark. And I looked at all these great offenses. I looked at the 2013 Broncos with Peyton Manning. I looked at the 07 Patriots with Tom Brady. I looked at the 89 49ers with both Joe Montana and Steve Young, but obviously Montana was QB1 on that team. And I've looked at the greatest show on turf, Rams, and it's actually those Rams that are the closest because Marshall Faulk rushed for 1,300 plus. But the 49ers, they're on pace to rush for 1,500 plus with McCaffrey. And again, they might have 3 1,000-yard receivers. It is absolutely insane what we are seeing from this 49ers offense. Purdy, the betting favorite to be the MVP. Remember that the Cowboys today just got stomped up in Buffalo. As predicted, we talked about that, right? We said, okay, Dallas is probably going to lose one of their next couple of games, with the best chance being a loss against the Buffalo Bills. It was on the road. It was bad weather. Dak Prescott didn't handle it well. He was the betting favorite for MVP entering this weekend. And Brock Purdy is the betting favorite leaving it. The 49ers are helped by Buffalo's loss because by Buffalo's win over Dallas, because a Dallas loss drops them to 10-4. The 49ers have the tiebreaker over the Cowboys because they beat them 42-10 back in week 5. And now they have a full game lead in the loss column over the Cowboys in the race for the NFC's number 1 seed. 49ers also have the tiebreaker of the Eagles in that same race. We'll see if the Eagles suffer a similar fate to Dallas because they may not have Jalen Hurts, who's dealing with a sickness in their game tomorrow at Seattle. Jalen didn't fly with the team. So it's very possible that, and the Eagles also, they've changed defensive coordinators. They went from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia, who had already been on the staff as a consultant of some sort, some kind of senior analyst on the defense. So did the 49ers break the Eagles? Tune in Monday night to find out if they did, because if Philadelphia loses to Seattle, that will be one hell of a tumble for the Eagles ever since they faced the 49ers, and a chance for the 49ers to gain even more ground on top of this NFC race. So I believe that my article is close to coming out. It's not out yet, but as soon as it comes out, I'm going to share it with you. It's on Purdy. It's on McCaffrey. It's on this 49ers locker room. I was in the locker room. Obviously, here I am at State Farm Stadium, but I was in there as soon as the 49ers won the NFC West today. And they had their T-shirts, they had their hats. It was a hat and T-shirt game, and they were talking, right? They were talking, but they were talking in a way that I think just exemplifies the collective spirit of this football team. These guys are so selfless, and they have maybe the most talent an NFL team has ever had assembled in one room. It's time to start talking about that, right? We talk about the greatest show on turf, Rams. We talk about the 49ers of the 80s. We talk about the, but what these 49ers are doing statistically might be more impressive than any of those great teams. And then, I didn't have the chance to cover those great teams in person, but I have the chance to cover these 49ers. I've been in the locker room here for 7 years now, so I've gotten to see how the ethos of the team has built under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I've been in the locker room every day this season, and I can tell you it is remarkable how these guys are not grandstanding for individual self-promotion. It's like the Spider-Man meme, right? It's Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey both wearing Spider-Man suits that say MVP on them, pointing at each other. Today, Christian McCaffrey, well, first it was Brock Purdy said Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP. And then Christian McCaffrey took to social media and said, no, Brock is wrong. Brock should be the MVP. And then in the midst of all that, Christian McCaffrey said that Trent Williams has his MVP vote. And all of them, credibly, I think, have an argument to be the MVP. Now, the nature of the award, and George Kittle said this the best today because George Kittle stumped for both Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. He acknowledged that this is probably a quarterback award because quarterbacks are the most important members of a football team just by default of the sport. But my summary is simple. I think that Christian McCaffrey is the best player on the 49ers, although you can debate that until the cows come home because they've got so many of them. Again, they also have Deebo Samuel. They also have Trent Williams. They also have Brock Purdy. They also have Nick Bosa. We're not even getting to the defense yet, which had a bit of an off game with the injuries for the 49ers, but they have so much superstardom across the board. So I'll say that Christian McCaffrey might be the best player of all that superstardom, the best player in the NFL, but Brock Purdy is the most valuable player in the NFL just because he's a quarterback, and that's just how it works. I mean, 49ers fans should know that better than anybody. They saw the NFC Championship game last year after Purdy got hurt. It wasn't pretty, right? All those other pieces are relying on the quarterback to get the ball to them. It's the fulcrum of the offense. But anyway, the 49ers are sitting here pointing fingers at each other in the good kind of way. There's bad kind of finger pointing, like the 2011 Philadelphia Eagles finger pointing, right? A super team gone bust. And then there's the good kind of finger pointing. And the good kind of finger pointing is guys pointing at each other and saying, no, you're the MVP. No, you're the MVP. I mean, do you understand how insane of a luxury this is? That there are like locker room arguments, quote unquote, debates, arguments about who the MVP of the National Football League is. There are multiple credible candidates on the same team to be the most valuable player. I mean, this is unprecedented. It's crazy. Whatever adjective you want to use. I've heard a great adage before. It's a great thing that you use to appreciate your time in life. And it reads as such. It says, I wish that I could have known that we were in the good old days before they were finished. Can we know that we're in the good old days while we're still in them? The 49ers are in the good old days right now. So those of you who watched the 49ers in the 80s and even into the 90s as they won their 5 Super Bowls, you probably, especially through the dark eras, you probably were disappointed that you didn't cherish the great eras quite enough. You thought it would last forever. It didn't. Well, don't make that same mistake again. This team hasn't won the Super Bowl yet, and there's no guarantee that they will win the Super Bowl this season. But what they are doing is historic, and I think if they stay healthy, they're odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl. I'd be absolutely shocked if the 49ers didn't win it this year if they stay healthy. And I get it. That's a big if because an injury can happen at any time. But it is imperative to appreciate what is in front of you right now if you are a fan of the game of football. They are dominating opponents on a week in and week out basis. Brock Purdy is setting NFL efficiency history in a number of ways, not in all the ways. You still look at like Kurt Warner and maybe prime Peyton Manning and prime Aaron Rodgers, and they might have slight statistical edges, but Brock Purdy is definitely threatening them in those statistical edges. You look at Christian McCaffrey's doing stuff that only Marshall Faulk has done before. Today was the 15th time that McCaffrey has rushed for and caught a touchdown in the same game. Only he and Marshall Faulk have done that. So, I mean, you look at what the 49ers are doing and you have to sit back and say, wow, let's put this in bigger perspective. This is something that may not have been done yet in NFL history. At the very least, these are the good old days and you're in them right now. So enjoy the ride because the rest of the ride is going to be compelling. Nothing is guaranteed in sports, but you are seeing greatness out on the field right now. Now the 49ers, they're going to be tasked with translating this into the postseason and all the way to the Super Bowl. And the best shot they're going to have at that is if they earn the number one seed. And winning the NFC West today, going to 11-3, puts the 49ers a step closer to that number one seed. So my article is up. So I am very excited. Go to Twitter, Lombardi himself. I'm very, very excited to share this article. The great 49ers MVP debate. Frontrunner Brock Purdy touts Christian McCaffrey's case. So let's put it on the screen. Mike, I'm going to send this to you. I want you to put this, please, pretty please, into the comment section. There it is. It's $1 a month for The Athletic right now. We're going to talk about it. This is what you need to sign up for. You are in the good old days right now, so you want to read every single bit of 49ers analysis because what is happening right now needs to be put into perspective. So Lombardi himself is where I'm at on Twitter, and I'm busy putting this out there on that social media platform. Frontrunner Brock Purdy touts Christian McCaffrey's case and vice versa on the collective, I will say on the uniquely collective spirit of the star-studded 49ers locker room from Arizona, because we are in Arizona. Boom. The great 49ers MVP debate. Frontrunner Brock Purdy touts Christian McCaffrey's case and vice versa on the uniquely collective star spirit of. See, this is why I read things. On the uniquely collective spirit of the star-studded 49ers locker room from Arizona. Boom. We are tweeted out. It's there, and we're ready to talk about the 49ers and this star-studded locker room after they beat the Cardinals 45-29. So first of all, and I got graphics too here that I have to show you. So let me get those out. First of all, let's establish just how good Brock Purdy has been. First in QBR in the NFL, 76.1, I believe. Completion percentage, just under 70%. He's second right now. There was a few passes that fell incomplete today that I don't think were necessarily Brock Purdy's fault. There was like a deep pass to Brandon Ayuk that I believe Brandon lost in the ceiling here, like in the sky. You could tell that the roof is closed right now at the stadium. I'm not going to bother tilting the camera. Well, actually, maybe we can. You see the stadium? You see that? Yeah, we could tilt the camera. You could keep me here for a little bit, right? We could keep me on the side. So you could see that the roof is closed, but it was open a little bit earlier. And when Purdy threw what I thought looked like a good deep pass to Ayuk, it looked like Ayuk just lost it for a bit. So that hurts your completion rate, right? A play like that. And, there was There was another one that wasn't held on to by George Kittle that almost looked like it could have been a catch and a fumble, but it wasn't. Anyway, Brock Purdy's at 69.8% completion rate. Second in the league in passing yards. He's going to hit 4,000 in all likelihood against the Ravens. He's 205 yards away. Yards per attempt, Brock Purdy is at 9.9 yards per attempt. That is equal to what Kurt Warner and the Greatest Show on Turf Rams put up, 9.9 yards per attempt. He's over 8 air yards per attempt, which is fourth in the league. So it's obviously not dinking and dunking. I told you a little bit earlier that this week that the 49ers actually and Brock Purdy had the best deep pass completion percentage on record. And today, I mean, he connected on a few more deep passes. He also couldn't connect. He underthrew Ayuk slightly on one. You saw Antonio Hamilton break it up. That was on the first drive. This 49ers scored anyway. And then there was the one that Ayuk might have lost in the sky. So that's Purdy. Those are the numbers that he put up. I'm going to slide this back over here because I think if I put the article back up right now and I want you guys to check it out, well, I'm still on the screen. That's not bad. Just looks a little bit awkward. So I'll put myself a little bit more centered on the screen. There you go. And you could read about Purdy and all those great statistics there. So I wanted to put Purdy into perspective, and he's number one or number two across the board of all those stats. But this is one right here that to me visualizes it even more effectively. I mean, and I know I put these up week in and week out, but look at where Purdy's dot is on the upper right compared to everybody else's. I mean, the x-axis is the completion percentage above expectation. The y-axis is EPA per play. So that's efficiency. So it's accuracy and efficiency. And Purdy's at the top in accuracy and he's at the top in efficiency. And that makes his dot be an absolute outlier over everyone else's. And he's doing this behind pass protection that's not great. So today, for example, in this game that we just watched the 49ers play against the Arizona Cardinals, Purdy had several excellent off-schedule plays, like elite plays. And I mean, one of those came right after he suffered the shoulder stinger. Right? The shoulder stinger happened on a hit that was penalized from Gardeck, right? Gardeck hit him. Gardeck had sacked Purdy back in week 4, but it was a penalized hit, got Purdy high. He has to go into the injury tent. He feels a stinger for the first time in his life. Those can be painful. It was in his opposite shoulder. It was in his left shoulder, but it wore off. The sting wore off fairly quickly, and Purdy was back in a few plays later. By the way, Sam Darnold, I mean, his 2 throws were a little bit erratic. Didn't seem to be, I mean, I get it. He was probably a little juiced up to be in the game, hadn't had a chance to settle down, so we can't be unfair to Sam. But you go back and you probably appreciate Brock Purdy's comfort within the offense and executing a little bit more after you saw a couple of those Sam Darnold snaps. Anyway, he comes fresh out of bed back into the game, and he makes an excellent third down throw where Kittle was far down on the progression list. The way that Brock Purdy is able to find receivers off script after the offensive line gives up some pressure when he's being harassed back there, the way he's able to feel his way, move up in the pocket, and then deliver a bolt downfield. And it's his high-level impressive stuff. There's a reason why you have this right here, why you have Purdy at the very upper right, and it's not because he's just delivering within the structure of the offense. You only get to this spot where Brock Purdy is in this graph if you're delivering out of the structure of the offense very, very consistently. And he is. And he's at this spot despite the fact that the pass protection would be over here, be on the left side. It'd be below average. I think the pass protection has gotten better, especially when they've been healthy over the course of the season. But Purdy, I mean, it's not like he's got this system around him that is foolproof. He's doing more with less pass protection than almost any other quarterback in NFL history. I mean, you have to say that at this point when you see how damn efficient he's been. It's borderline historic levels of efficiency, but with, I can't say objectively below average pass protection because it's all subjective measure. Some of it, I guess, is a little bit more objective when you look at the pass block win rate, but the metrics have the pass blocking at like number 22 or number 23 on a composite for the 49ers. And Purdy's out there running away from the pass rush. delivering downfield. The McCaffrey throw where Christian was wide open when Purdy had a spin out. Remember last year, it was all about force Brock left. Operation force Brock Purdy out of the pocket to the left. That will get him off track. That doesn't work anymore. That's failed. Every single time he rolls left, from Ayuk last week on the off-schedule play where he heaved it 35 yards in there, to today, Christian McCaffrey catching it, stumbling, getting back up and scoring. Making Brock Purdy roll to the left doesn't work. I don't know what the weakness to his game is because I don't see it. And it's really fair to say, or at least pose the question, is Brock Purdy the best quarterback in the NFL right now? I mean, find me the weakness. Find me the weakness. It's not on tape. So he has a strong argument. He has an absolutely strong argument. And the fact that he's got a good supporting cast should not be used against him in that argument, because it's Purdy who's delivering with timing. It's Purdy who's delivering with efficiency. It's Purdy who's leading the MVP race because of the skill set that he brings to the table. But at the end of the day, it is a team sport. And I mentioned all the great stuff that Purdy is doing. We'll take a look at all the great stuff that Christian McCaffrey is doing. Again, the only rusher over 1,200 yards this year. Nobody else is even over 1,000 yet. McCaffrey racked up all those receiving yards yesterday, or today. Sorry, I'm already losing track of time. It's only 9:52 p.m. here in Arizona, only 8:52 back in the Bay Area. They're in Mountain Time. They don't subscribe to the end of daylight savings here. They just do daylight savings all year round. So McCaffrey, sensational across the board. You think it's going to be a 2-yard gain, it's an 8-yard gain. You think it's going to be a 5-yard gain, it's a 15-yard gain. He's so damn explosive at every part of this. I mean, he's a combination of speed, power, agility, intelligence, vision, and it just bleeds down to the whole 49ers offense. I mean, George Kittle, in my article, and again, check it out. It's in the comment section. I think that Mike put it there. Mike, you can grab the link off Twitter if you haven't yet. It's $1 a month for The Athletic. It's, you look at this, and George Kittle illustrates, hey, we think that all of these weapons, because it's not just McCaffrey and Purdy, it's also George himself. It's also Deebo Samuel. It's also Brandon Ayuk. They believe in Jawan Jennings and Kyle Juszczyk. George said they believe that 5 guys can score every single time they touch the ball. And that's like this rising tide that lifts all boats. Because if you believe that your teammate's going to score every time he touches the ball, you're going to block a little bit harder for him. You're going to strain downfield. You're going to try to execute everything to perfection because there's a chance of a house call in every single play. Again, when I tell you to cherish the good times while they're here, don't look back on the good old days 5 years from now and regret that you didn't cherish this. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. When you have that many explosive weapons, that many all-pro, Hall of Fame, whatever you want to categorize them as, when you have that many on one offense to where everybody thinks everybody else can score at any given point as if it's like rookie mode playing a video game, when that is on the same team at once and everybody is elevating each other due to the belief they have because of how good they are, holy crap. I mean, I'm just a fan of the game, right? I'm just a fan of the game. And what I see here is it rivals what the 49ers of the 80s did. It rivals what the Greatest Show on Turf Rams did. It rivals what those great Patriots teams did. And that doesn't mean this story is fully written yet. I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, what's going to happen in the Super Bowl, but I take it on a week-to-week basis, and I could certainly appreciate what I'm seeing in front of me right now. And that's what this perspective is about. So go ahead and check that out. It's up on The Athletic. The great 49ers MVP debate. Frontrunner Brock Purdy touts Christian McCaffrey's case, and then Christian gets on social media and touts Brock Purdy's case. It's crazy. And then they tout Trent Williams' case, and then somebody I'm sure can make a case for Deebo Samuel. I haven't even talked about the defense yet, but on the other side of the ball, the 49ers struggled a bit. But Nick Bosa's got 10.5 sacks now this year. Everybody was complaining he didn't have enough sacks to start. Well, he was getting all the pressures. He just couldn't get the sacks because quarterbacks were getting rid of the ball too quickly. He was getting double teamed too often. Bosa was never doing anything different or wrong this year. He was still pressuring the QB time and time and time again. And now they're turning into sacks. And you saw today, the 49ers pass defense is on point. I think it's the best pass defense in the NFL between pass rush and coverage. Whenever Kyler Murray had to sit back in the pocket after that first drive, he couldn't really deliver against the 49ers. I mean, he was inaccurate, but a lot of that goes to the pass rush. The guys were covered. Pass rush was obviously ferocious. They didn't have Armstead or Hargrave on the inside. It's the run defense that's the problem right now for the 49ers, right? The run defense is the issue for this team. They gave up over 200 yards on the ground. I think over 7 yards per carry. We saw some of this coming when they didn't have Armstead and Hargrave in the lineup. We knew that it was, and then Kevin Givens' false start on the first play. He said, oh, okay, this might be rough for the 49ers. But I talked to Fred Warner about this, and he said, the Ravens are going to look at the tape and they're going to say, we can run on these guys. And, they have every right to think that after what the 49ers put on tape today. But I don't think that you're going to see the same 49ers team on Monday as you did today, because again, you're going to get a couple dogs back in all likelihood, and Hargrave and Armstead. We'll see. I don't want to speak prematurely there, but I think the 49ers are shooting for returns from those guys, because there was already a possibility they would return this week, but instead they were able to rest them for a week. But you're going to get those guys back. But then just from a motivational standpoint, I talked to Warner in the locker room. I think the 49ers are going to be upset. They're going to watch this tape and they're going to vomit. I mean, it wasn't good. There was a lot of missed tackles. The pass defense was great. The pass defense is fine. I mean, Charvarius Ward, we'll talk about him, and they think he's an all-pro. I think the stats agree. But the run defense isn't what it should be, and that's been a problem on and off for the 49ers all season long, especially during their losing streak. This is a winning streak now, though. They've won 6 in a row. And the run defense is the one weakness that I see from this football team at this very moment. And I think that based on the way Fred reacted, Warner in the locker room, based on the fact that they may get guys back, based on the fact that this team can circle the wagons with an extra day of rest for the Ravens at home on Christmas, there's a good chance that they look a whole lot better against the run. Now, it's not going to be easy. I mean, this is the showdown of the season. Lamar Jackson against Brock Purdy, the former MVP against the front runner for this season. And it's going to be fun to buckle up and see what happens in this football game. Because the one that we saw here on the field in Arizona, boy, was that entertaining to watch today. Purdy, number 1 across the metrics for quarterbacks. Christian McCaffrey, number 1 across the metrics for running backs. The 49ers defense on a day off today for the 49ers defense. Definitely an off day, not a day off, but an off day. The offense carries the load, and that's what this team has been all about. It's been a historic offense and a very good defense, but the defense hasn't been foolproof, and that's a sign of the times in the NFL. It's hard to be dominant every single week defensively, given the way that this league is set up with the rules. But you know what? You want to play complementary football and bring both of them together, and that's what the 49ers are going to be trying to do against the Ravens this week. They certainly did it today against the Cardinals, because even if they were giving up a lot of yardage on the ground, the 49ers stabilized with the offense helping the defense in complementary fashion. And then, I promised I'd talk about Charvarius Ward. He's got, 23 pass breakups? That leads the league. He's got a pick 6. He's got 4 interceptions. The pick 6 today was just him praying in coverage. The Cardinals only really had one downfield threat, and that was Trey McBride, the tight end, who looks like Zach Ertz in his prime. But Charvarius Ward knew that Kyler Murray would try to go to that well one too many times, picked him off. Charvarius talked a lot recently about how he needs to change or turn his pass breakups into interceptions. And if he does that, then he's going to be a top-tier, all-pro caliber player. And I think it's time to start considering Charvarius Ward an all-pro caliber player. Again, leading the league in pass breakups and 4 interceptions, including a pick 6. The 49ers pick 6 since Emmanuel Mosley had one against Carolina last year. So think about it. The 49ers have the reigning defensive player of the year on the line. They have a defensive player of the year candidate at linebacker, although Fred Warner, I don't think, played very well today, but he was steamed about it. He was happy they won the West. But I think Fred Warner is going to I think you're going to see an awesome Fred Warner against Baltimore just based on his career trajectory of bouncing back from games that aren't quite as good. And they have an all-pro candidate at corner. So at all 3 levels of the 49ers defense, you have stardom, and then they have even more depth and with on the defensive line with Armstead once he comes back, Chase Young, obviously, Javon Hargrave once he comes back, Dre Greenlaw linebacker. I mean, you have stardom across the board. This defense has yet to play its best game, in my opinion. Let's just put it that way. And I'm wondering if it's going to come against Baltimore, or maybe they'll wait for the playoffs. Who knows? But it's not that significant that they haven't done that yet, because the offense is so damn explosive. 45 points today, and 7 of them from Ward with the pick 6. I get it. So 38 points today. distributing the ball to everybody. Brock Purdy off schedule, downfield, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Kittle, Samuel, 2 touchdowns, McCaffrey, 3 scores. I mean, it is something else watching this 49ers team. So they are NFC West champions. I'm not flying out of Phoenix until like 3 tomorrow. So I got a lot of food to show you in Phoenix. We ate really well yesterday. I haven't even had a chance to put anything through yet. So we're going to talk this Phoenix area, some food wrecks. We're going to talk more 49ers tomorrow. I have to go eat now because it's 10 o'clock and I don't want to eat all too late. So I'm going to peace out here from Arizona. Everybody go into the description. Check that out. It is there. It's waiting for you. And right now, a little bit of news. Ravens running back Keaton Mitchell is believed to have suffered a season-ending knee injury per John Harbaugh. So that's bad news for the Ravens. Don't like to see injuries ahead of such a big game, but that obviously will affect 49ers Ravens next week. So best wishes out to Keaton Mitchell, who got hurt, but we're going to be talking a lot of 49ers Ravens. This is a monumental time in 49ers history, given what they're doing. It's historic. Next week's game is massive. A couple of 11-3 teams. Hopefully you enjoyed the reporting from the stadium here in Arizona. There's going to be much more from Arizona itself before I fly back to San Francisco tonight. So brace yourselves. Buckle up. 49ers Ravens coming up. The 49ers are NFC West champs, 45-29 over the Arizona Cardinals. I will talk to you very soon. Subscribe to The Athletic. It's $1 a month. Subscribe to this channel. It's free. All that stuff. You need to put 49ers coverage on full blast right now because, again, you are in the good old days. So appreciate it because what we are seeing now is astounding. We'll talk to everybody very soon.